The silent departure. The great council chamber stood ready for debate. The banners of 100 species hung from the tall crystal walls, their colors bright under the pale glow of artificial suns. Delegates gathered in their seats, voices buzzing, with excitement and tension. Today was to be another long session, about humans. The speaker of the council lifted his staff. His feathers shone silver, his eyes cold. "Let us begin," he said. But when his gaze fell upon the circle of seats, his words faltered. One chair was empty, the human envoy's chair. The place where a man in black robes had always sat, silent, watchful, dangerous in his calm, was vacant. The desk before it was bare. The symbol of Earth, once glowing softly, had faded to dark. Whispers spread at once. Where are they? Why is no one there? They are never late. For years, humanity had attended every meeting. They had spoken little, but their presence had always carried weight. Now that presence was gone. Outside the chamber, reports began to arrive. At first, they seemed like mistakes. An embassy on Varan, closed overnight. A Terran trade hub on Zalos abandoned, its machines powered down. Colonies on the frontier empty. By the hour, more news came in. Human ships had left council space. Outposts, mines, research labs all shut down. Their banners taken, their names erased. The galaxy buzzed with confusion. "Are they retreating?" one delegate asked, voice sharp with fear. "Have they surrendered?" another whispered. Or, "Are they planning something?" No one had an answer. In the streets of alien cities, ordinary beings noticed too. Terran clinics, once open to all, were dark. Human engineers who had repaired machines no other hands could fix were gone. Farmers found empty stalls where Terran food had been sold. Soldiers realized their Terran instructors had disappeared from the training halls. At first, civilians panicked, then anger followed. They left without warning? They abandoned us? But whispers spread of another truth. Humans never leave without reason. Back in the chamber, the council demanded explanations. Some shouted that humans were cowards, running from judgment. Others claimed they were plotting in secret, hiding, weapons in the dark. The Lissari delegate rose, her four eyes filled with unease. "No. This is not fear, this is choice. They left on purpose, but why?" Her question hung in the air like smoke. The speaker tried to sound firm. "They have defied us. They think they can walk away? Let them. The galaxy belongs to the council, not to them." But his words lacked strength, and everyone in the chamber felt it. Far from the council world, the truth unfolded. Humanity's departure was not chaos. It was order. Every ship that left followed a route, every colony packed in silence, every family moving together. There were no mistakes, no confusion. It was not retreat. It was migration. On Mars, last, shuttles departed under the red sky. On Europa, domes were sealed and lights turned off forever. On Earth itself, skies filled with fleets lifting quietly into the void. Children pressed their faces to windows, not crying, but watching stars grow brighter as their home grew small. The humans did not speak to the galaxy. They left no message, no farewell. Only silence. In the chamber, silence was louder than shouting. Delegates shifted uneasily. Some feared humanity had run to hide and prepare war. Others feared something worse, that they were gone forever. The Uruk delegate slammed his claws again. "This is insult. They mock us by leaving without words. We must chase them down, force them to return." But another delegate shook his head. "You do not understand. When humans are silent, it means judgment. They are not running. They are making us answer for what we did." The hall trembled with his words. Across the galaxy, emptiness grew heavy. Where once Terran presence had been strong, there was nothing. Their stations orbited dark, their colonies fell quiet. Their trade routes vanished like smoke. Yet everywhere their absence was felt more than their presence had ever been. An alien child asked her mother, When will the humans come back? The mother could not answer. At the edge of council space, a final ship passed into the black. Its hull carried no flag, no mark, but as it vanished into the void, it sent a faint transmission. It was not a threat, not even a promise. Only 2 words. Remember this. Back in the chamber, the speaker lowered his staff. His eyes searched the empty human seat, but found only shadow. The council had demanded much of humanity. They had judged them, mocked them, feared them. And now, humanity had answered. In silence. The silence that would haunt the galaxy. Whispers in the void. The galaxy could not stay quiet for long. When the humans left, they took with them not just their fleets and colonies, but also their presence in everyday life. And in that empty space, rumors began to grow like fire. On the frontier worlds, alien traders gathered in bars and ports, whispering of what they had seen. One swore he watched a fleet of Terran ships pass silently through the dark, their engines burning brighter than suns. Another claimed he saw entire colonies vanish in one night, leaving behind only empty houses and silent streets. They didn't run, said one merchant, lowering his voice. They moved together. Every ship, every station, every family. It was planned. His words spread faster than any official report. Soon, across markets and comm channels, the same question was asked again and again. Where did the humans go? Patrols sent by the council reported strange findings. In abandoned Terran space, they found signs of order, not panic. Mines were emptied, leaving no scraps. Stations were powered down with care. Even farms had been sealed, their soil preserved. It was as if humanity had left their house clean, knowing someone would one day look inside. But what unsettled the patrols most was the trails. Long, bright scars in the void, evidence of massive fleets moving as one. Not scattered, not broken, but united. An admiral who led one patrol recorded a message. They are not gone, they are moving. But where? Toward what? The council received his report but buried it quickly. Too dangerous for the public, they said. Yet whispers escaped. They always did. In the cities of alien worlds, fear mixed with longing. Ordinary citizens missed Terran presence. The doctors who had cured diseases no one else could treat. The engineers who had built machines that never broke. The soldiers who had stood against pirates when council fleets had turned away. Without humans, things began to crack. A child cried as his medicine, once made by Terran labs, could not be found. A factory shut down when its Terran-built core failed. On one frontier planet, raiders struck, and the people realized no Terran patrols would come to defend them. In markets and homes, the whispers turned bitter. Why did they leave us? Or did we drive them away? Back in the council chamber, unease grew. Delegates argued about the rumors. Some dismissed them as lies. Humans are finished, one said. They left because they were weak. Let us forget them. But others shook their heads. No. Weak species do not leave with such order. They do not move entire worlds without chaos. They are planning something. Perhaps they are waiting for us to crumble. The speaker tried to silence the talk, but even he felt the weight of uncertainty. His staff trembled in his hand. He had wanted humans gone. Now that they were, the galaxy seemed emptier and far more dangerous. On the borders, strange sightings were reported. A mining crew near the Black Nebula swore they saw a shadow larger than a moon drift past their scanners. They fled before they could confirm it. Another scout searching the empty Terran colonies found a beacon floating in space. It carried no words, only a pulse, slow, steady, like the beat of a heart. The scout captain whispered to her crew, "It is as if they left a warning." Her report never reached the council. Somewhere in the chain of command it vanished. But her story spread in secret. For the ordinary people of the galaxy, life grew harder. Without humans, trade weakened, medicine failed, safety disappeared. They began to remember things they had ignored before, how humans had quietly held the galaxy together with their work, their science, their courage. Now without them, cracks widened into chasms, and in those cracks, whispers grew stronger. Some said the humans had gone to build a new empire, far beyond the reach of the council. Others said they had found something in the deep black, something the rest of the galaxy was too afraid to see. A few even believed humanity had left to prepare, to one day return not as equals but as rulers. The truth was hidden in silence. In the abandoned halls of a Terran station, a council scout left a final note before disappearing. His words were simple. They left too quietly. That silence is the loudest sound I have ever heard. Back in the chamber, the empty human chair stood like a shadow. Every time the delegates entered, they saw it. Every time they argued, they glanced at it. And every time they did, they remembered the silence. It was not just absence. It was judgment. The humans had not stayed to argue. They had not stayed to fight. They had simply left. And now, the council was left behind, with whispers in the void, whispers that grew louder every day. The council's unease. The council chamber no longer felt like the heart of power. Once it was filled with pride, order, and confidence. Now, it was filled with doubt. The empty human chair stood like a ghost, and every delegate felt its shadow. The speaker struck his staff on the floor. We must remain calm. Humanity has left, but the council is strong. We will manage without them. But his words did not match the truth. Reports from across the galaxy told another story. On the frontier world of Varos, protests filled the streets. Citizens shouted at their leaders, waving signs painted with crude Terran flags. Bring them back. We trusted the humans, not you. The reason was simple. Terran doctors had once cured diseases that local healers could not. With their departure, medicines ran out, and hospitals grew crowded with the sick. Children died, and families cried out in anger. On another colony, factories stood silent. Machines built with Terran hands had broken, and no one could repair them. Entire cities fell dark, and on a small moon near the border, raiders struck. The council fleet arrived late, and when it did, the soldiers refused to fight. They whispered that without humans beside them, their weapons would fail. Inside the chamber, these reports created cracks in unity. One delegate raised his voice. Our people depended on the Terrans. We should call them back, send envoys, beg forgiveness, if we must. But another slammed his fist. No, they abandoned us. They left without warning. If we call them back, we show weakness. The arguments grew louder, sharper, until it was no longer debate but chaos. In private halls, whispers among council leaders grew darker. They didn't leave in fear, one muttered. No, another replied. They left to teach us. Already, our people cry for them. A third leaned close, eyes wide. And what if they return, not as friends, but as masters? The thought made them all fall silent. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens across the galaxy began to remember what the council had long ignored. It was Terran ships that had fought pirates in the black. It was Terran engineers who had repaired broken reactors when no one else dared. It was Terran food that had fed starving colonies during shortages. It was Terran soldiers who had stood side by side with alien comrades, even when the council turned away. Now all of it was gone, and people asked the question the council feared most. Did we push them away? A secret report reached the speaker's desk. It was written by an intelligence officer, a cold-eyed veteran who had studied Terran movements for decades. His words were short but heavy. They departed quietly but with purpose. Every ship accounted for. Every colony emptied in order. This was not weakness. It was strength. They are not gone. They are preparing. The speaker read the words again and again, but he did not share them with the chamber. Instead, he burned the report. Yet even burned, the truth could not be hidden. Alien markets felt the loss most sharply. Traders complained that without Terran goods, profits fell. Starports once filled with Terran traffic now stood half empty. Entire routes collapsed overnight. A merchant on the trade world of Arian growled. Without Terran credits, without Terran buyers, we starve. Another replied. Then perhaps the council was wrong to drive them out. The whispers grew. In the chamber, the speaker tried once more. We must show strength. If the humans return, they must find us united. But no one listened. Delegates argued bitterly. Some demanded war preparations in case Terrans came back in force. Others demanded peace, even apology, to bring them home. A few simply stayed silent, fear in their eyes. And through it all, the empty human chair stood like a silent judge, watching them tear themselves apart. In the black between stars, far beyond council eyes, the trails of Terran fleets stretched further, silent, steady, endless. Where they were going, no one knew. But, in the hearts of those left behind, unease spread like fire. Because everyone understood one thing. The humans had not vanished. They had chosen to leave. And choices always have reasons. Shadows of the past. The council chamber was restless again. Delegates sat stiff in their seats, but their eyes were not on the speaker. They were on the empty human chair. Its silence seemed louder than their own voices. Reports of unrest across the galaxy continued to arrive. Colonies once loyal to the council now whispered of Terrans with longing. Trade routes cracked. Medicines ran out. Machines stopped working. And through it, all one question remained. Why did the humans leave? It was then that the archivists of the council brought forth old records. The archivists were keepers of history, their long robes trailing across the floor as they wheeled in ancient data cores. The speaker frowned, but he allowed them to speak. We believe the answer lies in the past, one of them said, her voice like dry leaves. The humans warned us before, many times. We ignored them. With a gesture, she activated a projection. The chamber filled with light. Holograms flickered to life, showing moments long forgotten. The first was from a war 3 centuries earlier. The council had refused to defend a border colony from raiders, but humans had gone with their own ships and stood beside the colonists. When the battle ended, half the human fleet was gone, but the colony survived. The hologram froze on the image of a Terran captain. His face was weary, his voice steady. Remember this. We bleed for those you abandon. Another recording appeared. This one showed the aftermath of a plague. The council had debated for years without acting. By the time they voted, millions had died. It was human doctors who had arrived with medicine, distributing it freely, even to worlds that had mocked. A Terran healer spoke to the cameras then. Remember this. We save where you delay. A third recording showed a council debate decades ago. A human envoy stood before the chamber. His words were calm but sharp. If you betray us, we will not shout. If you betray us, we will not fight. We will leave. And then you will answer not to us, but to yourselves. The projection ended. Silence filled the chamber. Delegates shifted uneasily. Some looked away. Others stared at the floor. The empty human chair seemed heavier than ever. Finally, one delegate whispered, "They warned us." Another hissed back, "They threatened us." But the truth could not be hidden. The recordings showed no anger, no bluster, only patience, only warnings. And now those warnings had come true. Across the galaxy, these old stories spread again. Citizens shared them in markets, in homes, in schools. Children learned of Terran sacrifices. Farmers remembered Terran aid. Soldiers told tales of battles fought side by side with humans. One alien elder sitting by a fire on his colony world told his grandchildren, "The humans do not speak loudly, but when they act, the stars listen. Never forget that." In the chamber, fear deepened. "If they left by choice," one delegate said, voice trembling, "then their silence is not weakness. It is judgment. We betrayed them, and now they make us face what we truly are." The Uric delegate snarled, slamming his claws. "Judgment? No, this is manipulation. They want us to crumble so they can return as masters." But even he sounded less sure than before. His claws shook against the desk. Late that night in the archives, one junior historian uncovered a final record. It was buried deep, almost erased. It showed a message sent by a human admiral long ago after another council betrayal. The admiral's words were simple. "We do not forget, we do not forgive, we endure, and in the end, endurance wins." The historian carried the record to his superior, but by morning it had vanished. Still, the story spread. Stories always do. On alien worlds, young voices began to ask dangerous questions. Why did the council betray them? Why did we not listen? Why do we trust leaders who mocked those who saved us? Protests grew louder. Colonies wavered. And through it all, the absence of humans became heavier than their presence had ever been. In the council chamber, the speaker lowered his head. For the first time, he wondered not whether the humans would return, but what would happen if they did. And he realized a truth he could not say aloud. The council feared humanity most not when they shouted, but when they were silent. Cracks in the council chamber was louder than ever. Shouts echoed off the crystal walls, drowning the speaker's voice. Delegates stood from their seats, pointing claws, wings, or hands at each other in anger. "Your people depended too much on the Terrans," one shouted. "You drove them away with your fear," another replied. The speaker slammed his staff against the floor. Sparks flew, but no silence followed. The chamber, once the symbol of unity, was now a battlefield of words. Outside the chamber, unrest spread through the galaxy. On the frontier world of Valar, thousands of civilians filled the streets. They carried old Terran banners they had kept hidden for years. Children waved cloths painted with the Earth symbol. One protester shouted into the crowd, "The council abandoned us. The Terrans healed us, fed us, protected us, and now they are gone because of the council's arrogance." The crowd roared in agreement. Similar protests erupted on other worlds. On Arion, merchants closed their shops and marched, demanding the council beg humanity to return. On Solara, students painted Terran warships on the walls, calling them the only true guardians. The council tried to silence these voices. Soldiers were sent to break protests, but the soldiers themselves hesitated. Many had fought side by side with humans. Many remembered Terran commanders who had saved their lives. Some lowered their weapons rather than fire on civilians. The cracks widened. Inside the chamber, a delegate from the Lissari Alliance stood, her voice sharp. "We cannot ignore our people. They want the Terrans back. Without them, we are weak." The Iraq delegate hissed, slamming his claws. "Fools, they abandoned us. If we beg them to return, we crawl on our bellies. Better to fight and die than kneel to humans." But another delegate rose, voice calm but steady. "You call it kneeling. I call it survival. Without their science, our medicines fail. Without their engineers, our cities break. Without their soldiers, our borders burn. Tell me, what do we have left?" Silence followed for a moment, but then the shouting returned. Far away on border colonies, life grew harder. Pirates grew bold, raiding supply lines. Council fleets were too slow to respond. On one colony, citizens refused council help, shouting at the soldiers, "Where were you when the raiders came?" The humans would not have been late. The soldiers left in shame. On another world, famine struck when Terran food shipments ended. Children cried in the streets. Their parents cursed the council. "They called the Terrans dangerous," one farmer said, "but who is dangerous now? Not humans. The council." Back in the chamber, alliances began to crumble. The Kern delegation, once loyal supporters of the council, announced that they would no longer send fleets. "Our people will not fight humans," they declared. "We will not fight those who once saved us." Gasps filled the chamber. Another delegation followed, then another. Piece by piece, the unity of the council fell apart. The speaker tried to keep control. His voice cracked as he shouted, "If we break now, the galaxy will fall into chaos. Do you want pirates and warlords to rule? Do you want the Terrans to return and find us weak?" But his words only made the fear sharper. Because in their hearts, many delegates already believed the truth. The galaxy was falling into chaos, and the Terrans had left them to it. In the streets of capital worlds, whispers became chants. Chants became movements. Some carried signs that read, "The Council failed." The Terrans did not. Others painted words on walls in bold letters. "Bring them back." The cracks in the Council were no longer just in the chamber. They spread into every home, every city, every colony. In the quiet corners of space, a strange discovery deepened the fear. A Council scout ship searching abandoned Terran space found a beacon floating in the void. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. When decoded, it revealed 3 words. "You chose this." The scout captain carried the message back, trembling as he read it aloud. The chamber erupted once more. "They judge us," one delegate shouted. "They warned us," another whispered. And all eyes turned, once again, to the empty human chair. The Council had wanted to rule the galaxy. Instead, it was breaking apart under its own weight, and everywhere the people remembered the humans, not as enemies, not as rivals, but as the ones who had held the galaxy together. Now, in their absence, everything was falling apart. The first. Collapse. The Council chamber shook with voices again, but this time there was no power behind them. The proud hall, once a place of order, now felt fragile, like glass ready to break. Delegates argued about fleets, food, and fear. But outside the chamber, the galaxy was already slipping from their hands. On the colony world of Jaren, pirates swept down like vultures. The Council had promised to protect the colony, but no ships came in time. Families hid in caves. Markets burned. And when the survivors looked to the stars, they said the same bitter words. If the humans were here, this would never have happened. On Valar, riots spread again. Protesters carried banners painted with crude Terran symbols. Soldiers tried to stop them, but many soldiers refused to fire. They had fought beside humans. They remembered Terran commanders who had pulled them from death, and so they lowered their weapons. The protests turned into movements. Movements turned into rebellions. The Council fleets were stretched thin. They had always relied on Terran engineers and Terran designs. Without them, ships failed more often. Engines overheated. Shields flickered. Weapons broke in the middle of battle. One admiral wrote in his report, "We are not losing to enemies. We are losing to absence. Without the Terrans, our ships are half alive." The report reached the speaker, but he buried it. He did not want the chamber to see the truth, yet whispers still spread. In a dark meeting hall, several delegates gathered in secret. Their faces were tense, their voices low. "My colony has already refused council law," one admitted. "Mine too," said another. "They chant for Terrans, not for us." A third leaned forward, eyes filled with fear. "Perhaps humanity planned this. They left quietly, knowing we would collapse without them." No one denied it. Back in the chamber, another storm erupted when new news arrived. A convoy carrying medicine for border colonies had been destroyed. Not by humans, not by pirates, but by Council fleets themselves. 2 allies, each desperate, had turned their weapons on one another. The delegates screamed at each other. "You attacked us. You stole our shipment. You betrayed the Council." The speaker slammed his staff, but his voice was drowned out. The Council was no longer many voices pretending to be one. It was many voices tearing each other apart. In alien cities, civilians saw the weakness. Some declared independence. Whole colonies announced that they no longer recognized the Council's rule. On Arion, leaders painted over Council banners and raised empty poles saying, "We belong to no one until the Terrans return." The cracks had become open wounds, and then, in the void, a new fear arrived. A scout ship searching the abandoned Terran colonies found something drifting near a dead station. It was a beacon glowing faintly. The crew retrieved it, expecting coordinates or silence. When decoded, the beacon carried only 3 words. "You chose this." The message spread quickly, despite the speaker's attempt to hide it. Delegates argued about its meaning. "They blame us," one whispered. They curse us, another said. They judge us, a third muttered, trembling. And for once, no. One in the chamber denied it. Everywhere, people remembered the Terran's warnings. Warnings that had once been mocked, now returned like ghosts. If you betray us, we will leave. If you betray us, you will answer to yourselves. The humans had left. And now the council was answering, without war, without a single shot. On the frontier, alien civilians spoke openly. The Terrans were not our rulers, but they were our strength. The council was not our leaders, but our chains. Perhaps it is better this way. Perhaps it is time the council falls. Even the youngest children, who had never seen Earth, spoke the words their parents taught them. The humans do not forget. The humans endure. In the chamber, the speaker sat silent, his feathers trembling. He looked again at the empty human chair, and for the first time, he admitted a truth in his own heart. It was not the humans who were breaking. It was the council. And this was only the first collapse. The reckoning the council chamber was broken, not by fire or war, but by silence. Delegates still sat in their seats, but their voices were tired, their arguments empty. Once they had shouted about humanity being dangerous. Now they whispered about survival. The empty human chair was still there. It had never been removed. Every eye still drifted toward it as if it held answers, but it gave none. Reports continued to arrive from the galaxy. Whole colonies refused council rule. Fleets turned against each other. Merchants abandoned trade routes, saying, "Without the Terrans, the stars are unsafe." One by one, worlds declared independence. Some even raised Terran flags as symbols of hope, though no human remained to see it. The speaker tried to command order. His voice cracked as he shouted, "The council still stands, we will not fall." But even he knew the truth. The council had already fallen. Then came the final blow. On the outer rim, a group of miners found another Terran beacon. This one was different, larger, glowing brighter, humming with strange power. They brought it to their leaders, who dared to activate it. The message was simple, spoken in a calm human voice. You pushed us away. You feared what you did not understand. Now you will learn what it means to live without us. We will not strike. We will not return. We will watch, and you will answer for your deeds. The message ended. The beacon went dark. The galaxy trembled. In alien cities, civilians gathered in silence. No shouting, no protests, no chants. Just silence. The same silence the humans had left behind. And in that silence, every being felt the weight of judgment. They remembered the stories. Humans saving colonies when the council refused. Humans healing the sick. Humans fighting pirates. Humans standing beside strangers as if they were family. And they remembered how the council had treated them, with suspicion, fear, and betrayal. Now the Terrans were gone, and the galaxy was weaker for it. Inside the chamber, the delegates argued one last time. They left us to die. One hissed. They gave us a choice and we failed. Another replied. They will return. A third whispered. And when they do, they will not forgive. The speaker buried his face in his hands. He had no words left. Beyond the council's reach, far out in the black, humanity traveled together. Entire fleets moved as one, carrying millions of lives. Their ships were silent, their signals dark. They left no trace but the faint trails in space. On the bridge of a great Terran vessel, the commander looked out at the endless stars. His officers stood beside him, calm but firm. "We are free," one said. "We are beyond their chains," another added. The commander nodded slowly. "Yes. And now, the galaxy must face itself. We will not fight them. Their collapse will be their own doing." His words carried across the ship, steady as stone. Back in the chamber, the council fractured for the last time. Some species abandoned the alliance completely. Others clung to it, desperate to hold on to something that no longer existed. The galaxy was now a web of broken trust, and through it all, The empty human chair remained, silent and heavy. It became more than a seat. It became a reminder of what had been lost and of what could never be regained. On one frontier world, a child asked his teacher, "Will the humans ever come back?" The teacher sighed, looking out at the stars. "No one knows. But remember this, humans do not forget. Humans do not forgive easily, they endure. And if they return, it will not be as equals. It will be as reckoning." And so, the galaxy lived with silence. Not the silence of peace, not the silence of death, but the silence of waiting. Waiting for the day when the Terrans would decide if the Council was worth saving or why, or worth burning.